Anya, feel free to start recording the meeting. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So, as far as I guess chairing this committee, I'm still new to this process, but I guess we can start, discussing the current slate, and if anyone has any nominations that they would like to share, and we can go over the current executive slate as well, which consists of Joanne Brown as chair, Gail L. Smith as first vice chair, Stephen D. Cohen as second vice chair, Joseph Dweck as third vice chair, Indy Bendel as secretary, Shahid Khan as member at large, and Carl Henry Cesar as also as member at large.
That's it. And as we discussed earlier, and just so the committee is aware, the attendance for all of those executive committee members was reviewed and everybody is in good standing.
Dwayne, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick question about the current slate. I know some of the names you call, I know are scheduled to have their appointments or renew their appointments to the board, or renew their applications to be appointed as board members. Have we reached out to any of them to see if anyone has decided not to renew, or maybe thinking about stepping down or stepping away?
It's my understanding that all of the current executive committee members plan to reapply for board membership, and have indicated a willingness, if nominated and if elected, if there is an election following the nominations, to serve. That would have to be reinforced or reconfirmed if they are nominated, but that's my strong sense. There's a few of them here, so if anybody wants to jump up and contradict me, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I reapplied already.
Anyone else?
Thanks.
I don't know if I should have raised my hand, but good evening. Do we know that all of the people who are in those positions want to continue with those positions? Because I think that's maybe two separate questions, continuing with the board and having the added responsibility.
Yeah, sorry, Nina, if I was unclear, but both seem to be true. Board membership and executive committee duties, everybody's willing to maintain both of those.
Any other board members present have any input that they would like to add?
Then too, just to remind everybody and for members of the public who are with us tonight, the slate that the committee nominates will be announced at the regular monthly meeting of the board on February 14th. The chair will call on the board assembled for any nominations from the floor. So if there is a board member who for any reason objects to any of the nominations, or it doesn't have to be an objection, but wants to make a nomination for election, that will be done at that time.
Sean, just a quick clarification. This assembly right here is just to bring forward that this is going to happen next board meeting?
Yeah, the bylaws direct the chair to name a nominating committee at the January meeting, for the nominating committee to meet prior to the February meeting, to at the February meeting propose a slate of officers. So that's fulfilling the bylaws duty, which are typical bylaws, typical nominating process.
And just as a point of clarification, so should someone nominate someone else that's not on the slate at this meeting today, tonight, what would happen as far as the nominated member, I guess, being presented to us?
Yeah, that it's a face-off, then it's an election. So we would have to develop a ballot. And the nomination would have to be for a particular office so that, you know, that nominated individual would be running against a specific member of the slate. If the nominated person is for member at large, then there's the ballot looks like there's 3 people, assuming only one person is nominated from the floor for member at large, then there's a slate of 3. And each voter gets to vote for up to 2 members, you know, 2 candidates on that slate. And then, you know, if somebody is nominating, and this is in no way a suggestion, somebody from the floor to take on the position of chair, you know, then there would be a ballot for chair. If somebody nominates, and I've never seen this happen, if somebody were to nominate an entirely new slate, then, you know, there would be, that's how, then the ballot would look like that. In my 10 or 11-ish years as district manager, I think we've had, I was going to say 1, but maybe 2 elections, and they were all members at large. I don't think anybody contested another seat.
Thanks for that clarification, Sean.
And then too, just to add that next year there will be movement because the chair will be term limited. So the consistency this year will be definitely, and you know, by virtue of the bylaws, will be disrupted next year.
Sean, wouldn't we have the option of keeping Joanne on if there was such a vote?
There is an option in the bylaws to propose that the term limit be waived for the chair and for the chair, yeah, for the chair, who's the only term limited position on the board. So that's possible. I don't know. I don't know from conversations with the chair, and certainly she should be speaking for herself, but just, you know, to give you a sense, I don't know that there's an inclination toward that. At least there's a whole year away, but that's my sense. So Ed, do we have a read on the room?
Yeah, if there are no further comments from the floor or committee members, we'll keep the slate as is, and we'll put it to a vote, I guess, at the general meeting.
Yeah, and to be clear, that the nominations will be made at the February meeting. Nominations will be taken from the floor if there are any. If an election is necessary, that takes place in March. So the board members get, you know, either reelected or newly elected at the March regular monthly meeting of the board. And even if there aren't any challenges to the slate, the secretary takes on this sort of this task of casting a single vote for the slate in order to ratify their election. It's quite ceremonial. I'll try to get a horn section there.
I guess, do we need to motion this to make it an official?
Yeah, I think I would encourage you to go through the pomp and circumstance of that to.
So then in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we present the current slate of the executive committee as it stands to the board in the, what month are we in?
February.
In the February meeting as the next slate for, as the new slate for our next iteration of CB14.
Is there a second?
Nina, you're on mute. Are you seconding?
Yes, I would like to second that motion.
Sorry to laugh out loud, like, Joe, you're funny.
Uh,
Joel, you're hilarious.
That is awesome, Joel.
Better my son play. He's much better.
we'll, I guess, put it to the vote between the members that are here.
It's the committee members that are voting on this, the nominating committee. Are you unanimous? Kashif? Dwayne, Nina, Ed, everyone's good? All right, your proposed slate moves forward at the February meeting and Edson will report it out.
Great. Thank
For
you,
those already
everyone.
on the executive committee who are here this evening, is that just you, Hindi? Congratulations.
I think Hashid is here with us as well.
Oh yeah, I saw him a minute ago and then he disappeared. Okay. So the executive committee meeting will begin at 6:30. So if anybody wants to chat here, we're not turning off the screen, we're moving right into it, right, Anya? So if anybody wants to stick around and chat here or turn off your screen and go, kiss your baby or grab a bite of food, pour a cup of tea, which is what I'm gonna go do, we'll reconvene in
Well, practice your trumpet.
practice your trumpet.
So are we officially adjourning?
Adjourning, yes, until the executive, but y'all come back for the executive committee meeting. We got a lot to talk about there.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks.
Dwayne, are you still there?
Yeah.
Question. Did you hear about the shooting on Ocean and Church on Monday?
No, actually, I did not. I usually get a phone call from the precinct, but I didn't get one about that. No.
Yeah, so there was one this Monday, I think around 6 or after 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And well, the person got shot in the leg, and we need to do a shooting response. So the clergy council, we're meeting out there. Would you or anyone else like to join us with the 7-0, the police officers,
Right.
Officer Joseph, and I'm not
What-
sure exactly.
What
It
day?
will be Tuesday, February 8th at 5 p.m.
That would be a little tough. I'd actually have to get permission to see if I can get off of work a little early that day, but I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted. I don't think I have your number, so if you want to just send me that privately, or if you want to drop it publicly in chat, I don't know.
That's all right.
Yeah. So and this way I could just keep you posted.
Right.
Have you spoken to the folks at East Flatbush Village?
Oh no, I haven't spoken. I should call Mr. Waterman. I know because his wife's running for the seat.
But not for that area. She doesn't represent that part.
No. I know she is running for Assemblymember Perry. Yeah, but I think her organization still. Her husband's doing that now. I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, her husband runs the organization now. She signed it over to him. Yeah.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll do that now. Thanks.
No problem.
People might want to know what I know about applying for reappointment to a member to the board. I did it, and it's a little more work than you're used to if you haven't done it already. You have to supply like a bio, a resume, and there's a couple of there's an essay, so it's a little extra work. You can't just. I don't think you can just blow it off. You kind of have to think about it a little bit for those seeking reappointment.
Yeah, I noticed that when I looked at the application. So I said I have to hold off for a few because I'm busy doing other things, but I get it done eventually. That was me, Deborah Valentine.
That's Deborah Valentine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that came about because one of the people there are now, they know what in their district, how the boards were run, so they want to bring change.
Uh-huh.
So an essay has to be written, you said, Deborah? Or,
Yeah, you have
or
to do an
Joel?
essay. You have to have either a resume or your bio. And they ask you specific questions about what is it that you do in the community. You want to be on the board, give me some history, what things have you done and whatnot.
Hmm. It's
Yeah,
also new
it's more,
administration.
yeah,
and
it's more
leadership.
detailed. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more detailed. And you can no longer be on the board and just do that. You can't just exist on the board. You have to be participating, attending meetings, and everything.
Just my advice is don't wait till the last minute. You
Yeah,
gotta
because
look it over.
it's time consuming. Yeah.
The
Yeah, I'm working. I'm updating my bio. So as soon as I get that done, which is a lot, I'm like, I can't send a 5 pages. So I try to, tailor it to suit the position.
I was so frustrated trying to upload, the things that we just wrote in directly was fine. But when I did the bio, because for some reason even though it says that my resume is on my computer, it doesn't open to anything. So I did a bio kind of thing and couldn't get it to upload. And I was so frustrated. I thought I was going to throw up because it tells you can't like pause, you can't stop and then reopen your application. You have to do it all in one sitting.
Right.
So pressure was on and I'm like saying, this is crazy, because I do like written reports for my job, which I then convert to PDFs and, and send, and things all the time. And I'm like, I could not for the life of me get it to go in. And
I put mine in PDF. I uploaded the PDF. That wasn't too bad.
I don't know, for some reason, I was having real problems with it, even though the computer said I had that I had made a PDF file. Every time I went to it, I couldn't then retrieve it. I don't know what was going on. My daughter came home, fortunately, and I said, you got to help me. Let's figure this out. And she got it. She changed it to like docs.
A Word doc.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad.
I was just sitting there going like, oh my gosh, you do have to have a certain amount of tech set, which I felt, for some people is a little unfair,
And they also ask you about what computer skills you have, as far as especially the social media, not the social media, the meeting platforms.
Right.
Like, how comfortable you're with, the different platforms that's out there.
Yeah. I mean, personally, that didn't bother me as much because I have to create a Zoom classroom now I don't have to do it every week, but I do, like last week, this week, and other times, wind up creating Zoom classrooms for my teaching. So, I've gotten pretty decent at that, and certainly, having the apps, just getting on board.
Yeah, they also, it was not only Zoom too. There's different platforms out there that you should know. And how other workings on it. It's just that's not just getting on a meeting and you're there. You should know how to run in the background too.
I sort of came into this conversation while you were in the middle of it, but is this in regard to the borough president's new application?
Yeah.
So one thing, and we're going to be talking about that more during the executive committee meeting, so I don't want to steal Joanne's thunder, but one of the things that I've been saying out loud, and we'll say when we have our next borough service cabinet meeting, that any expectation coming from the borough president's office should be supported by training and technical resources and all of that, so that we can, function according to what their expectations are with their support.
Agreed, agreed.
A question, Sean, the email you sent out about a meeting that needs to be registered for on April 4th, was that just notification for us, just for informational
Yeah,
purposes? Or-
that's for your information, and if you wish, it's being offered. Not it's being offered by the CEC. What are they called? The Citizens Engagement Commission, who you might recall were brought to fruition through a charter changed in the 2 elections ago. So they are tasked with providing opportunities to, for training opportunities. I think some of you attended their Robert's Rules of Order training. And so it's an opportunity. And I'd encourage board members, and I bet you, given the tone coming from Borough Hall, that there will be follow-up on, of the opportunities offered. Did you take advantage of, did you partake? Do you have any feedback on them? So if you can, and it might be interesting, I'm going to try to do it.
I didn't,
They're not required, though.
I didn't
Yeah,
register for it or get on when the time comes, though. Did I miss that on there?
I don't remember it specifically, but I'll look it up. I'll make a note to take a look at it tomorrow, and if there's anything you need to do, we'll prompt you.
You know what, I completely forgot that. In fact, I had done several of the Robert's Rules of Orders sessions when it asked about the training. I'm like, oh, well, you can't get it all in there.
And Boris Noble joined us. So before we even get to the next meeting, and Edson, are you still here and listening?
It looks like,
So I'm still here.
Okay, Ed, cool. Boris, and are you near your screen, Boris? We were texting and he indicated an agreement, but I thought it might be useful just to have it said out loud. But he may have stepped away waiting for the meeting. Sorry, timing is everything, Sean.
How's your leg, Nina?
well, I get to start putting weight on it, and the goal is to be off crutches in 2 weeks, basically, because I said to my orthopedist, I have to be able to go into the hospital on the 18th and teach my students. If I have to go in with crutches and put them aside and use a cane, I can get away with that. And he says, no, let's try to get you off the crutches altogether. So I'm like, yay. So
Good.
bit by
Better.
bit. Did
That's-
11 whole minutes on a stationary bike and probably did the slowest, revolutions on record. I mean, it was like really. Everybody who knows me and knows how much I bicycle, it was kind of funny, but that's just part of the process.
Yeah.
God,
It's
they
good.
get that fast.
Hey, Gail.
Oh gosh. Just checking, can you hear me?
Can?
Oh, okay, because I did respond and say, hi, everyone, good evening. Okay,
evening.
thank you.
Hey, Gail.
Hi.
Sean, Boris is present in front of his computer now. If you want to,
Oh, hey, Boris. Just,
Yeah, I had to step away for a minute. Sorry.
that's quite all right. Just wanted to make sure we got you on record that you were amenable to renominating the current slate of officers.
Yes. Yes. My son
And
is
hello to your son.
joking.
Does he
I guess
approve as
I
well?
don't think he can second, but he's learning his civic. And my other son. Yeah.
Thanks, Boris.
You lost the cover. Okay, we're looking for a marker. That's why I have to step away. Yeah, you found your marker. Good.
Hi again.
Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
We have a quorum already. This is fantastic. We'll start in 1 more minute.
It's helpful to have a head start.
Alrighty, it's 6:30. I just want to see. Sorry, let me just get a few things up. Anya, you're still recording? Okay. All right, looks good. All right. I think we should begin. Executive Committee meeting for Community Board 14, commencing at 6:30 p.m. Hi, everyone. We have a kind of a packed agenda, so we'll just get through it. I just wanted to report on the bylaws implementation, on how it relates to committee assignments. So those assignments were sent out at the end of January, and everyone was reminded to review them.
Has joined the meeting.
And ascertain whether or not they have a committee meeting coming up this month. Let's see what else. Some committees might be meeting more than 3 times this year, especially the ones that were combined, like education, libraries, and youth services. They in total might meet more than 3 times. So just a heads up on that. Were there any questions from the executive committee members or board members about the bylaws implementation with regards to committees? All right. Yep. Seeing none, I'm going to move on to my next item. Comptroller Stringer's office performed a community board audit. The audit covered the period of June 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2021. They found deficiencies throughout the city in community boards. I'm just going to address some of the deficiencies that they found at Community Board 14. So the first one was the necessity to upgrade the website to improve both language and disability accessibility. So we're working on that. The next one was about public hearings. So I will, and Sean, feel free to, jump in at any time. I'll read our statement that was published in the comptroller's report. We acknowledge that there was no public hearings in December 2019 or February 2020. The lack of public hearing during the months of April and May of 2020 was due to the extraordinary conditions within the pandemic, and there was no business before the board to warrant a public hearing, i.e. land use items, which were halted for much of the year. Brooklyn Borough Hall advised community boards on April 22nd of our obligation to continue to meet our regular monthly meeting requirement, but did not include public hearings in those instructions. In addition, Brooklyn community boards were not provided with WebEx access and training until early May, which was too late for a duly noted public hearing in advance of our regular monthly meeting. So we'll be sure in the future to have a monthly public hearing. We have quite a few items on our agenda that we can do that, some of which we'll discuss tonight and how we can fill that calendar every month. So as a reminder, all special permits in the district are going to be done by public hearing, not in the land use committee. We have a public hearing coming up on Monday of this month regarding 1 Kenilworth Place. And then perhaps after we discuss SLA applications with this committee, that might be another item that we can add to our public hearing agenda.
Joanne, can I jump in for clarification? You said public hearings on special permits, or special permits will still be heard in the public hearing process, but not just special permits. It's all land use items. So special permits, variances, and all ULURP applications.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarifying and expanding that. Yes. The next item was about public input. So it is meant to set aside time to hear from the public prior to taking actions at meetings and hearings. Our board process has been to conduct business in committees and in public hearings while ample time is allotted for public comment on issues presented at such meetings. So several of the community boards reached out to the city law department. And I just want to read their statement, which is an addendum to the comptroller's report. They say, according to section 2800H of the New York City Charter, hereinafter known as Charter, provides that except during the months of July and August, each community board shall meet at least once each month within the community district and conduct at least one public hearing each month. That subdivision further provides that at each public meeting, the community board shall set aside time from the public. In addition, Charter Section 2800D3 provides that each community board shall, at its discretion, hold public or private hearings or investigations with respect to any matter relating to the welfare of the district and its residents. So I just want to come to a consensus with the executive committee and attending board members here that, and to clarify that the public has an opportunity to weigh in on items in the public interest in both our committee meetings and at public hearings. Our custom has been at our general meetings that we don't hear comment on these items, and that our public session would be at the end of our meeting. The public session, according to the city law department, is not a sufficient way in which to provide public input anyway on an item, and that's how I read it. So I just wanted to put it before the executive committee and the attending board members here that we would officially like to continue to have a public session at the end of the meeting, as opposed to moving it somewhere else in our general meetings. Welcome to take any comments, questions from the committee and board members attending. Feel free to raise your hand.
I'd like to, so what does the law department consider sufficient?
So sufficient would be to have a public hearing and allow the public to speak on the item in which the public hearing is addressed, and that's regard to public hearings. And I guess, go
I
ahead,
mean,
Sean.
they're saying this
Yeah,
is bad,
thanks.
so they have to give us an alternative of what's good. I mean,
Right. First, I think I can help clarify because some of the city law department and the comptroller's office comments weren't specific. Some were specific to us, but it's conflated a little bit by the fact that some community boards were attempting to argue that their public session at their board meetings should be counted as public hearings, that they just called public sessions. And for the boards that do sort of vet, have presentations and vet proposals as part of their regular board meeting, for those purposes, a public session at the end wouldn't have been adequate. Our argument was our board members tend to function as a reporting out meeting, as a reporting out mechanism, and the business has already been conducted in the public hearing or the committee meeting that precedes the regular monthly meeting. And our public session isn't about the issues upon which the board is taking a vote. The public session in our case typically is matters of civic interest and announcements of upcoming events of civic interest. So it just, the comptroller's office is trying to make sure that the community has an opportunity to weigh in on matters upon which the board is going to vote. And our argument is they do in the public hearings and the committee meetings that those issues are vetted in.
Joe Dweck, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joanne. I think that our past and current position is eminently fair. It's eminently logical and respectful to all parties considered. Because when people from the public want to weigh in and also obviously get feedback from us and we can hear them, the proper place is in fact our subcommittee meetings where the recommendations are considered, and there can be discourse. It's not proper. It's unworkable, frankly, for the public to have a discourse with whom? Our entire committee, with people who were there at the time. Certainly people who are presenting something are not even presenting it at our public meeting. They were presented at the subcommittee meeting. That would have been the right place for any kind of meaningful discussion and discourse. So I think that our methods are completely respectful, as I said, logical, and proper. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, this is Gail. I totally agree with what Joe just said.
Thank you, Gail and Joel. Hi, Nikki. You raising your hand and I can't see your hand.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was raising my real
Go for it.
biological hand. I just wanted to ask, does anyone else have an experience with another community board that does it differently from the way that we do it that they think is good? I have no issue personally with our structure where the work and decision making happens at the committee level and then is reported at the board. To me, that seems like a pretty normal practice for a board to have. But anyone have any other experience with another community board in a city that does it differently that they think is better?
Nina, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't going to say, you at the end you said is better, and I had already put my hand up. No, I have been at a couple of other community board meetings. And I've seen videos where, quite frankly, they are chaotic, and where there's been, really, they've turned into shouting matches, and just, sometimes, really just been out of control. So, I think that we've really done, I think I can only remember one meeting, which wasn't just a CB meeting, but was kind of a general thing. But I think in general, we've managed to keep our meetings pretty civil, and I think that that's important.
And Nikki, I can add, because I've attended a lot of other community board committee board meetings. And the boards that choose to have their public hearings folded into their meetings themselves have much longer, later, 3-hour plus meetings. And maybe the trade-off for them is that they didn't have a separate public hearing the week before. So instead of 2 hour-and-a-half meetings, they're doing 1 3 or 4 hour meeting. It isn't my sense that that's, the interest of this, this board. And then it also does sort of put pressure on other items that are on the agenda if one item sort of usurps the time of the meeting. I've also been to board meetings where the public session is before all other business of the board. And the problem that happens there, it wouldn't happen with any of these board members present tonight, I'm sure, but there's a tardiness that sometimes comes along when the business of the board isn't starting till a little bit later. So that's sort of a cultural or stylistic decision. And those are the two differences that I have seen.
Thank you, Sean. And I'll add anecdotally that last week, about 8 people sent me a tweet about a Manhattan Community Board meeting that was still going at 11:30 at night because they were looking at SLA applications as part of their general meeting. So I think we can agree that maybe that doesn't work. Joe, I see that your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Joanne. 2 things, actually 3 things. I'm sorry. One is that historic. First of all, I absolutely agree with what Nina had said. That I also had attended community board meetings in the city as well as in Brooklyn, other than ours. Sometimes they're dictatorships and it's chaos. Other times it is just rambling. That the way that just to give you another perspective, two things. I'm sorry to be rambling. One is that historically we were under an enormous attack 25 years ago by people who were trying to take over our community board, and the police were involved, and it was literally an armed camp. That's when we put in the things that you read, Joanne, before the meetings and after the meetings, before the public portions, because we really had armed camps here. We had 250 or 300 people here in every one of our meetings. It was really, really dangerous, disgusting. People were hurt. And that's the reason for that. B, all that is A, but B, as you all know, that I'm with the police all the time, and the cops, the COs, they have other community boards because they have other precincts that they have commanded. Every one of them, every single one of them is so impressed with our community board. It is the most professional, most well-run. It just, every one of them keeps on telling me, because I see them still. In fact, I just came back from Florida where I was with some retired guys. They keep on saying, please, Joe, tell everybody how much we think about Community Board 14. This is absolutely the gold standard. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for that institutional knowledge. And it really, it's really up to longtime members like you and Chair Emeritus Burke, who laid a very, very good foundation for professionally run meetings. Thank you. Florencia, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with what Sean had said. I've attended some meetings too. And Nina, I've attended meetings, other board meetings where it was absolutely chaotic. And what Sean said, the latter part of what she said, when you have the meeting before and, having the tardiness. So I find that our board is really professionally run and that it's done in order. And the board member, it's a whole different atmosphere. And yes, I also have heard our COs talk about our board as well. So kudos.
Thank you, Florencia. I believe we have a member of the public who is in the chat named Mr. Ray. Your hand is up. Did you want to go ahead and speak?
How are you? I haven't been around for a while, but I used to meet with all the community boards in Brooklyn, and I will say that I am very happy to be living in CB14 because we are the most professionally run that I've attended to in some time, even though I haven't been to ours in a while. But yes, it is definitely one of the starships of the borough, in my opinion.
Thank you
Kudos.
very much. Thank you very much. This board appreciates your comments. Gail Smith, I see your hand is up. Please go ahead.
Not to toot our horn, because I mean, we really did go through a lot back in the days, and I was a part of community board 14 at that time as well. And we've come a long ways as a result of that. We learned to disagree when it was necessary, but to be firm in our feelings, to be professional first. And not only do the other folks that were raised speak highly of CB14, the elected officials, the agencies, anytime they come to our meetings, they're talking about how well run we are and how professional we are as a community board. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think we're doing a fabulous job, and a lot of kudos to Alvin Burke for assisting in this.
Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Thank you so much, Gail. Mr. Ray Edwards, I didn't know it was you because I have my screen really tiny, but hi, nice to see you again.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's been a while, so
Yeah,
I deserved it.
No, really. If you had said Ray Edwards, I would have known. But sometimes when I log on with my other thing, it has a different name and people get confused too. But nice to see you again. I'm sorry about that.
No
Nicole,
problem.
you had your hand up.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to make a comment, not suggest any form of action, although I feel our meetings are also very efficient, and it's in my professional life also the way my board operates. So again, I have no personal issue with the committee thing, and I always appreciate the historical context. Numerous times at meetings I've heard board members who were here in the 90s, and I assume we're talking about the Abner Louima incident, which we're not, okay, because nobody ever says what happened or what the cause was. So for a younger board member, it's always very mysterious what's being discussed. And that is for another meeting. Perhaps someone could talk about what exactly happened. But I will just say this as a comment. I think whatever happened was clearly traumatic for board members that were here. And I can only imagine what that was like to go through. And I do credit everybody who handled that. At the same time, I would say sometimes like conflict is healthy. And so I'd just say like, let's not let that whatever happened historically, which I clearly don't know a lot about, but some of you do, just not let the trauma of that make us super scared of changing any rules that might create a little bit more conflict or discussion. I guess that's what I want to mean. There's like the pendulum, right? So that's just my one observation. I've heard this discussed many times, and I think there's sort of this deep fear in this board that comes out of that past of having anything that would open us up to conflict, but sometimes that fear maybe can go too far. you can take it for what you will. Say she's a younger board member. She has no idea what she's talking about. She wasn't there. That's just my observation that I wanted to share.
Thank you, Nikki. And hopefully one day we'll be able to have our, annual party again, and we can face to face hear of the stories and the reasons why it was so problematic in the 90s. Sean, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
I do, but Alvin Burke had a hand up too, so I would defer unless he's taken it down because he changed his mind.
You took it down. Alvin, did you want to have something? Do you have something you wanted to say?
I think I better keep my mouth shut. You guys are doing great. Keep it up.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I just to Nikki's point, just quickly, there have been changes slowly but surely. The certainly the statement at the beginning of the meeting has been edited to be more temporal, and things like that. And I just wanted to mention, since I'd done it, that the audit report is in the chat for anybody who wants to read the comptroller's report on all 18 Brooklyn community boards. I didn't put the other audits in the chat, but if that reading is really interesting to you, you can go read the audit reports on the other boroughs as well. But there it is in all its glory.
Thank you, Sean. So I think I would like to have a formal recommendation from the executive committee and board members that are attending here that the format in which we have been operating should remain intact, and that would be public hearings, our topical committees, and then bringing that business as a report to our general meeting, and then continuing on with our public session at the end. I see that Ray Edwards, you have your hand up. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, I didn't realize it was up.
No problem. So I'm looking for a recommendation from the committee and board members attending. I will go ahead and ask for votes in the negative. Nina, you have your hand up.
Am I making a motion here? Is this a call for a motion?
It is a call for a motion. The motion is that we will, I'll put it on the board, and what I'm looking for is a recommendation that our topical committees and our public hearings is where we do our business, where the public can be held, and our public session remain at the end of our public meeting or general meeting that happens once a month.
Okay, because I would move that we continue to hold our public, our meetings and our hearings. I mean, you said it much back in. I don't have it written out in front of me, but that we continue in the way that we have, because I think it's been very successful. So
I second the motion.
I was
I second it as well.
I do too.
You have a lot of seconds.
and thirds and fourths.
So we'll just, for this recommendation, we'll have the board vote on it at the meeting on 2 Mondays, which I think is the 14th. I'll ask for votes in the negative. Is there anyone that doesn't support this recommendation? Is there anyone that wishes to abstain from voting on this recommendation? And is there anyone that finds themselves with a conflict of interest on this recommendation? Alrighty, thanks a lot. Moving on. The next item for the executive committee is just a little bit of process review. So the state liquor authority applications, they're normally done as a matter of administration. Sean would review the application, consult 311 data, 911 data, data that comes directly to the office from residents, and she would consult with any agency, maybe or for example, community affairs at the precinct, or the Department of Buildings, before making a recommendation to the state liquor authority. So the climate in terms of restaurants and alcohol service is changing with the introduction of open restaurants where we have sidewalk cafes serving liquor, roadway accommodations for seating serving liquor, and then now we will have to-go cocktails. So I just wanted to open up a discussion of whether the executive committee is interested in the board hearings, state liquor authority applications as a public hearing going forward. And remember, if we find that there are no issues after a period of trial, we can certainly go back to dealing with them administratively. But considering that there might be some conflict between establishments and venues and residents with outdoor dining and roadway dining, or perhaps to-go cocktails, I bring it before the executive committee and interested board members whether or not we should be hearing SLA applications at a public hearing going forward. I'm happy to hear questions or comments. Go ahead, Dwayne. Thank you. Dwayne Joseph, thank you.
Thank you, Joanne, for recognizing me. I think for those of you that have been with the board in a while, we had this discussion a few years back. I think it was in 2017 or 18 on whether or not we should consider this very same thing. And at the time, you know, we didn't think that we had, we were dependent on police reports and or complaints to the police department at the time to help in the administrative process. I am very much in favor of the public hearings, I will say that. But I also, at the time, I think, suggested that at the very least, we should, there should be some kind of reporting out to board members of who was applying or reapplying and what the feedback from the local precinct was, whether they were in favor or not in favor of the renewal of the application and some sort of comment around it. I can't speak for all, but I know I'm in the northern end of the district, and we are rapidly becoming a very restaurant-focused culture. We're developing our restaurant and our bar scene a lot more than we have in the past. So I would like to see that, because as we expand in that particular part of the district, you know, I can see down the line the complaints coming in around, like the noise complaints and the complaints about, you know, how long something should be open and whether or not, like, for instance, I know part of the process is notification to community. I've had bars open around the corner from me and I've never been notified that they were being opened. So I would like to see the public hearings personally, but I defer to, you know, whatever decision the consensus of the board goes with.
Thank you, Dwayne. Any other comments or questions about hearing state liquor authority applications in a public hearing before this board? Deborah Valentin, I see your hand up.
Hi. I would like to be a part of that process because most, like Dwayne said, a lot of times bars are opened up or establishments that serving alcohol pop up on Cotillia Road, and I had never even knew that that was going to happen. So I would think that that would be something we should include.
Okay, thank you. Barton Brazant, I see your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with Dwayne. I think we should give people the opportunity. I mean, if we give them the opportunity and we find that they're not taking advantage of it, then we can reconsider. But I think that it makes sense to at least make that first step. So that's just my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Gail Smith, I see your hand up.
Yes, I also agree with Dwayne. I actually was a part of that public meeting and that session, and it was very lively, and there were a lot of not only board members but community members who were interested in us playing, I guess, more of a role in this. So I too agree that it's something that we should do.
Thank you, Gail. Sean Campbell, you have your hand up.
Just to make sure that we're on the same page with the requirements of a hearing, it wouldn't be an opportunity for them to show up. They'd be required if it was a public hearing. It would be part of their state liquor authority application. We get a 30-day notice, and we'd have to have the hearing within that. And then just to throw out another way of doing this, and these are on-premises licenses. This isn't the liquor store or the beer in your corner store. This is, restaurants and bars that are serving on premises that we weigh in on. So what we might want to consider, new applications, or, everybody comes to their first hearing, and then the renewals, because they renew every 2 years. So we don't necessarily need to see, unless you want to, but there's a way to just, all new applications would be heard, but renewals would not necessarily be heard unless it was a problematic application that we wanted to bring, to the public for vetting. Just another thought on how to do it. But they'd be required to show up for the hearing, or else it would be sort of a negative report out to SLA if we were holding a hearing and they were up for it and then they didn't show.
Thank you, Sean. Ed, Sen, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to agree in consensus with what Joe and a few other members have shared. And I think Sean's proposal is not a bad idea either, as far as it relates to renewals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Okay. So let me just formulate a recommendation, and then if somebody wants to state the motion, and we can vote on it. So the recommendation would be based on Sean's iteration of how the process works, that state liquor authority new applications for establishments, not liquor stores, but establishments, eating restaurants, bars, would be presented to the public via public hearing, and renewals would be handled administratively, so long as the application continues or is forthright in mentioning that they will have sidewalk seating or roadside dining.
Or Joanne, could you repeat the end of that? I didn't follow the end of that.
So if open restaurants, well, this is a thing that perhaps we need to discuss further then. If, because of open restaurants has only been, I think, in existence for a year, any renewal application would have to conform to say that they are serving liquor and sidewalk, because I don't know if their application has been updated if they now have outdoor seating. I think we've seen this in 1 and 2 occasions. So that's where I'm getting at with that. I just made it a little more complicated, and I apologize. But if we want to add different constraints, that if it is a renewal application with new sidewalk dining or a new sidewalk entity that we haven't seen before, then perhaps by public hearing. So there would be 3 realms: new application, renewal application with sidewalk dining that didn't exist before the renewal, but exists now under open restaurant, and then just a straight renewal with no sidewalk. Does that make sense? Joe, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I'm getting more and more confused. I'm sorry, but Joanne, is your thrust regarding only outdoor restaurants and outdoor provisions? Is that what you're considering? Because I was under the impression from what Dwayne said that he was more concerned about any restaurant. And so is this the entire process of renewal or advisement for all restaurants, or are you just considering the ones for outdoor dining? Thanks.
No, sir. So I am making, what I am bringing forward to you today is that because we now have open restaurants, right? Both sidewalk dining and roadway dining, that we may want to consider reviewing SLA applications because they may have more effect on the residents of a community. Right. So it would be, so Sean's recommendation was all new applications. And then I, of course, further complicated it and said, if there is a renewal that has new sidewalk dining, we might want to consider those. So there are three considerations here. New application, right? Any new application. A renewal application that may have not previously had sidewalk alcohol service, but now does. And then 3, a straight renewal with no sidewalk alcohol service. That can be done administratively, that last one. The other 2 might be a realm where we would want to have a public hearing. So a new application, a renewal application with new alcohol sidewalk service. Those would be the 2 that we would see by public hearing.
I'm sorry, Joanne, is there any type of separate, first of all, I thought there was no application whatsoever for outside service. I thought it was just that sort of almost an as of right these days.
If they're serving alcohol, their application has to check the box that they're serving alcohol on the sidewalk.
Just to clarify, I think in the emergency order, there wasn't a request, there wasn't a requirement that they adjust their method of operation on their current SLA license. But once the DOT permanent program kicks in, and Joanne, you might remember better than I do when that turnover takes place next 2023, then their order of operation will have to indicate every area that alcohol is being served in. Yeah. Also, if since I already have the floor, can I add, Anya, could you give board members a sense of how many applications or renewals we get in a month?
Well, I just did a tally, actually. We have 58 active licenses in the district. That includes the full liquor, and then also the classification of just the restaurant wine. That's the beer and wine. We have 58, but we do have 41 pending licenses in the district. So that brings to a total of 98 licenses. And like Sean said, those are renewed every 2 years.
Dwayne, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I actually like your recommendation, Joanne, but I would like to add an amendment to it. For the renewals, the straight renewals, that third category, understanding that they can be done administratively, but I think there should still be some sort of report out to board members and the community of what establishments are asking for that renewal. Just if nothing else, just a report of who they are and for their locations. You know, right now we have 98 active licenses in the district combined, Anya, or along those lines?
58, sorry.
58, I'm sorry.
And 41 pending, but then also understand with the 41 pending, many of those have been pending for some amount of time because there's maybe not all the paperwork was submitted. So those aren't all active pending as in filed like in the last 6 months. They may have been there for a couple of years.
So the reason I'm asking for that amendment to be added is because if I wanted to go look up and see just as as a citizen of the community or resident of the community, what those applications were, and you know, I have no idea who they are. I don't know where to look. I don't know where to begin to look. I'm sure there's a mechanism to look, but it would be easier if we can find that either through a distribution of an email.
We can put the SLA link on our website under the appropriate tab, so you can always look up. There's a map function on the SLA website, so you can see both on premise and store beer, sales. And
that indicates in their database. It indicates like that they're up for renewal or they're being reviewed for renewal by the board or recommendation by the board.
I'll have to take a look if it has the date stamp on it.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm looking for is just, I think it's, I mean, I know administratively it's an extra task, but I think we're not doing the public enough service, or, you know, if we are not sharing the information in some way or shape. And I don't know, you know, that's just me. Of course, others may think differently, but, and I'm happy to be the minority dissenting voice.
So Sean, let me ask you this. Is it possible for straight renewals, let's say they occur in the month of February, would you, in the district manager's report, just be able to say, you know, SLA application XYZ for this address was approved by, you know, this application was administratively approved by the office and sent to the state?
I mean, I kind of would want to think that through a little bit more, because if I'm publicly announcing something that there's not public discussion of, I'm not sure that that's quite what we're getting after. I don't know. I'm just that's my reaction right now, but I could think through it a little bit more and defer to, you know, board direction on it.
Okay, I'm just, I'm trying to think of a way to make it more transparent when renewals are done administratively, as Dwayne suggested. Dwayne, Joe, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so in the discussion, I'm starting to think differently. Would this need therefore a mechanism similar to our variance mechanism, where the owner has to tell folks within the 200 yards that there's going to be a public hearing for his renewal? Because that can't be, we obviously can't do it. If we're expecting the public to voice opinions about a application or renewal, we're not going to be responsible for distributing that meeting notice. So that would, I think, am I wrong? Am I thinking incorrectly, folks?
Well, it's not a direct mailing like within a 400-foot radius, the way you have like with a land use question. We would just announce the public hearing the way we announce all meetings on our website now on the Link NYC kiosks, and you know, into our mailing list and all. They would have to be duly noticed, you know, so they'd have to be 10-day notices. And we would probably hold them at the beginning, you know, the same, kind of with the same timing that we hold our land use items, so that they're ahead of the regular monthly meeting of the board, so that they could be reported out there.
I'm just, obviously, the people who are concerned would not know unless they're on our mailing lists, or they wouldn't know about it. And so and that mechanism seems to be a little flawed, but that's what it is.
Glenn, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm on the same page with Joe here. Putting it on our website is totally inadequate. I'm thinking of one of these restaurants that are on a residential street, and the neighbors aren't going to know to look at our website. I think that there needs to be a requirement that anyone applying is going to notify everyone within, I think it's 400 feet is the standard for land use, something like that, so that anyone nearby will know that if they have an objection, when and where to go. Thank you.
I don't know to what extent the community board can promulgate requirements.
If it's not required by the state liquor authority in terms of notification, then the process is the way it is.
Well, what I can do is speak with my colleagues. I know Community Board 8 went through a rigorous reform of their SLA process several years ago, when bars started opening up like popcorn, and CB10 I think has the most on-premises establishments than any other board in the borough. So I can I can just try to tease out their process and bring it back to the report back, just so that we have a template to follow.
If I might add, I'm a little concerned about this because what happened this last summer when the push was to make permanent these curbside restaurant seating, and we were not given an opportunity to weigh in on it in any meaningful way. And most importantly, we weren't given an opportunity to get feedback from the people who live near these types of things. So now we're back in the same situation where it becomes a meaningless exercise. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm bringing this before the committee because, you know, we're addressing the shortcomings of the process with the agencies administrating this program by making it more transparent from this side, right? So I'm going to take one more question from Carl Henry Cesar, but I think that Sean has a really good suggestion to let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's see what other community boards are doing. Let's table this and get a better sense of how other community boards are dealing with reviewing SLA applications in the public realm and not administratively. Carl, go ahead.
Hey, Chairwoman Brown. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much. So to tie everything together, I think from Sean's feedback and the conversation we've been having here, I think it ties into a bigger conversation that we've had over the years, which is just what are the ways that we can improve our process overall of just letting our fellow Community Board 14 residents know what we do and the things that are happening that affect them. You know, like we have our website, we have our calendars, but in some way, shape, or form, we all feel there are things that we can do to improve the delivery of that communication and the transparency of it. So we're not going to solve it here, but I do agree that I think whatever we figure out with the SLA from the research of other community boards, we may be able to use that for the SLA process we come up here, and then also maybe look at some of the other ways that we communicate with our fellow residents. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Carl. So then it would be my recommendation that we table this item until we can get feedback on what other community boards that are perhaps more dense with restaurants and bars than we are, and then take that as a framework and make it work for Community Board and District 14. Do I have a consensus that that is the direction that we want to go right now?
I agree, Joe Dwyer.
Agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sean, for making that suggestion. It'll be very helpful. So moving on to the next agenda item, I just want to go over committee co-chairs' responsibilities. Co-chairs are responsible to fully run their meetings, to introduce their presenters, to understand who their presenters are, and then to moderate the committee meeting throughout. Of course, if you need the assistance of Sean or Anya, they'll be available, but the responsibility is to the co-chairs to run the meeting, to obtain the recommendations from board members and committee members in attendance, and to know a little bit about their presenter and the presentation beforehand so that they can effectively run their meeting. If you need any tools and resources, if you feel you need assistance in parliamentary procedure, if that's necessary in your meeting, we'll be happy to point you to some resources to go ahead and do that. Again, so looking forward to attending all of your committee meetings and having them run very smoothly and be excellent. I just wanted, next agenda item, I just wanted to just giving you a little bit of an update on the community board applications. You've also the email that I sent to Sean and Sean sent out to you, that if anyone here or any board member had submitted an application through the Adams administration's website before Borough President Reynoso took over, Borough President Reynoso will review those applications. If you happen to have sent in a paper application in the format of the Adams administration's form, they will accept that as well. I know that Councilmember Yeager and other board chairs, including myself, had requested that an actual paper form be developed so that it is fully accessible to people who may not, who are not able to access an online form or don't have the acumen in which to do so. So if none of that applies to you, then right now the online application is up and it's quite different. There are additional questions, and you don't have to write a full, book report for those short questions at the end, but they are expecting some meaningful answers. I see Sean Campbell has her hand up. Go ahead.
First, a mea culpa, because I don't think I distributed an email telling people they could use the paper form. But I can do that. We can get that done tomorrow or Monday. Also, a big pat on the back to Hindi Bendel, who already did her new and improved Borough President form. Oh, I was going to say something else. I forget. I'll mute. That's it for now.
Thank you. Joe, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. If anybody, I did not get a response from the Brooklyn Borough President's Office when I had previously filled out the form under the other administration. They did not get it. They did not know that they didn't get it. So if anybody did not get feedback, consider that it was a waste and must be redone.
Or contact the office and we can contact our liaison and we can ask her to track it down if it was submitted, if at all possible. I remember her going to great lengths to get Donald Loggins when they lost it last year. So he can probably attest that she'll figure out where to find it.
They couldn't find mine and have to redo it now.
Sorry, Joe. Luckily, you saved your high school essays.
It's crocodile tears there, Campbell.
I just want to address a question in the chat from Corazon Valente. If you did the new long form application, you're fine. So that and actually might be better. I think everyone should do the online form, but what I'm saying is if you don't have access or you already submitted it, it still counts. Hopefully we can find it or ensure that it was received correctly. I see a hand from Joel Siegel. Go ahead.
Yes. By the way, I got the paper thing in the mail. I don't know where it came from, but I did get the paper application in the mail. But I did it online. And when you finish, it just said, well, thanks for doing it, but you don't get an email, or at least I didn't, an email saying that you did it. And that's it leaves you kind of in limbo. It would be nice to know that, they in fact got it. And to my fellow members, I said this before the meeting started, you can't do this the last minute. You have to think through what you want to say. It's not, it's not pro forma answers anymore. You need a bio, a resume, and you have to write a little essay. So you might want to spend a little time.
Right. So for those of you not up for reappointment this year, looking puzzled out there, go ahead and check out the website and get started now. You've got a year. It'll help to have extra.
Joel, I got a confirmation actually.
You did it by an email?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a telephone. I don't know if it was Sean's email, but there was an email or a telephone number for someone saying you can contact this person. So-
Yeah, but I did get an email, yeah.
No.
Literally 1 minute after I submitted, yes.
Oh, I did not.
And
Okay.
Shahid is
I
saying he
didn't
did
either. Uh-oh, now I'm getting nervous.
Right.
Maybe you flunked your essay.
Oh, no.
Sean, you don't get a record of who submitted?
No, they, officially we're kept at arm's length from the process. It's directly through the board members and the Borough Hall. There is a number, when we sent the email to all board members, with the list of those who had to renew, but with the meeting reminder, Anya included in that the contact person at Borough Hall, Erin Buchanan.
Right.
And there she goes. It's right there in the chat, everybody. That is your point person for following up to make sure that they have what they need from you. Do you all see it?
Thank you, Anya.
If you have trouble checking it down, getting that all down, you know where to find us in the office.
We have about 3 minutes left. Glenn, you had a comment or question about the application. Go ahead.
Well, I did both. As soon as the first one came out, I filled it out and sent it in, and then went the electronic one. I filled that one out and submitted it, and almost immediately got back the application that said, "Thank you. We will review your application as soon as possible." And I haven't heard anything since then, but at least I know that it has been received.
Is that what you were talking about? It was like an instant, it said that instantly, but I didn't get an email that said that. Did somebody get an actual email?
Form, I don't know if you can see it, but the form that was submitted, right, it's my whole form that I submitted, and right at the top, it came right back, right away. So I know that they received it. That's all.
Mine showed up as an email.
Thank you.
It actually showed the, it was separate from,
What you're saying was like a pop-up.
no, it came out as an email.
Email with all the application you filled online, with all your essay, your name, your experiences, your resume, everything. They also added in that reply.
You got all that also, Shahid?
Yes.
No, I did not get that.
Okay, but I'm looking at the dates just so people are aware. The original submission was December 31st, and on January 21st is when I got the confirmation message. So it was
Oh, so that was a month later.
3 weeks later, but it did come in, so I printed it out and I have a copy of it.
Okay, I have something to report. I just looked in my spam and there it is.
Right, I'm gonna move on from this item. If you have any issues, get into contact with the office and we'll get in contact with the liaison. Thanks. So next item on this agenda is the letters that went out to absent board members. Just to let the executive committee know that if there was a multitude of absences as per the bylaws, that function was fulfilled, and letters went out to board members reminding them of their responsibility. And then the last item on this agenda is roll call attendance. I think going forward, we should be doing roll call attendance for our meetings. I just think we're seeing people arrive late and perhaps leave before the public session. We need to have an accurate count of what our vote results are. We've seen some inconsistencies about the attendance and our vote results. So going forward, we're going to do roll call at the beginning. I hope we don't have to do roll call at the end. I don't want to do that, but we just want to make sure that everyone is paying attention throughout the whole session and particularly the public session. Go ahead, Joe.
If somebody hypothetically was there for the beginning and not there for the end, does that mean that the votes? But then you have the votes tallied for any particular purpose, so you still know, whether you had quorum. I don't understand, excuse me. I'm sorry. I don't understand if they're not there for the public's portion. Nobody takes more than one, no organization takes more than one attendance in a meeting. So I don't know how you would wield that. I don't get it.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. If we were meeting in public and you got up and walked out during the public session, were you really there? Your requirement is to be there during the public session, correct?
That requirement, yes. However, that did not invalidate my attendance the whole day, nor did it invalidate my voting in quorum issues. Did it?
So then how was it dealt with?
I don't know. It's recommended that we stay there, but it doesn't.
No, it's required that you stay. It's not recommended.
Yes, you're correct. But does that therefore negate the other stuff that we did that day?
We'd have to look institutionally, but what I'm saying is that we're seeing an inconsistency in attendance from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting. It is the requirement that board members stay throughout the entire meeting. And so if someone drops off before the public session, they haven't really attended the full meeting or met their requirement. So I'm not saying that it is rampant throughout the board. It happens in other meetings too. I've seen it happen at the borough board. So I just don't think we want to be in a position where we do roll call twice. It's very time consuming. So we can look into how it was dealt with when somebody got up and walked out before the public session and how their vote was counted and whether they were really in attendance. But
I think in the past, I believe, because it's never been a rampant situation in the past when we were at live meetings.
right,
And
different situation.
I'm sorry?
I said, right, this is a different situation. People don't always have their cameras on. There are questions being asked by board members that were answered previously in the meeting. So
what I'm saying is that it happened a little bit, a few times earlier when we had live sessions. And I think at the time it was handled personally, which is probably maybe a wise thing to do. I don't know how things done electronically, but maybe it could be done personally.
Maybe we could just say something at the beginning of the meeting so that board members are aware of the fact that they're required to stay for the duration of the entire public hearing as well. So that
It is said at every single meeting. It's part of the chair's
Right,
comments.
it's said.
So, and
but
I think
maybe mention like that this has been an issue so that they know that we know that it's been brought to someone's attention that it's an issue that's happening that we can't.
right. And it's happening the flip side too. People are coming on very late after votes have been counted. So we have, because we're taking attendance by everybody whose name has shown up and, in the participants list, we'll have in our minutes that 35 people were there, but our vote breakdowns are like 28 for, 1 abstention. So that sort of discrepancy should be, slightly embarrassing to board members when our public record actually demonstrates a sort of fluid attendance practice.
How do other community boards deal with this?
And I have a potential solution to this that is purely based on robots. I know at least with Zoom and with whatever the other third thing is, you can generate a report that doesn't just show the at the end of the meeting, you can generate a report that doesn't just show the names of the attendees, it shows their attentiveness. So it shows the number of minutes that they stayed in the meeting. And I don't know if that's possible with Cisco, but if it is, that would get out of your issue of whether or not someone had really stayed for the whole meeting, and it would also avoid some of the conflict piece, and it would, most important of all, save us roll call, which is time consuming. But I'm not familiar with the technical details of how Cisco works. I am happy to look it up though, and I've volunteered to do that and look into the technical possibility of it.
Thanks a lot, Nicole. That would be a good solution too. I think, but definitely going forward in the beginning, we'll do a roll call just to make sure everyone is there on time before we vote on the minutes. Glenn, you have your hand up, and then we're gonna move on to my reminders.
Thank you. using Nicole's idea will give us more information, but it's not a solution. If this is mandatory, then there needs to be some type of consequence. If you coming in, and I'm not quite sure what that should look like. Maybe Joe's got a point. If you were there earlier and you had a vote, that should still count. But maybe there should be a notation somewhere that you didn't stay for the whole thing. And when it comes time for renewals, whether it's just reapplying for the board or the executive committee, that we then are aware that this person has not been fulfilling their full obligations. Maybe something along those lines. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Well, again, it should really be exactly the same as it was for all of our in-person meetings. So if a board member got up and left before the public session or before the business was concluded entirely, there, I'm sure was a notation made. So, we can look into how it was dealt with when it was an in-person meeting, because they should really be translatable. So I just wanted, to bring this to your attention. And again, when I report out about this meeting in the chair's report, I'll remind everyone of their responsibility and some of the activities that we've seen over the last, 6 or 7 months. For some board members, for the most part, everyone is really, doing a great job, and I really appreciate it. But we just have to have consistent numbers between attendance and votes.
Right.
And that's it for the agenda. I just have 2 reminders for everyone here. We have our public hearing on Monday at 6:30 about 1 Kenilworth Place. Department of Homeless Services and Department of Social Services will be presenting, and then Children's Rescue Fund will be presenting, and we will have a thanks, Dwayne. I see what you put in the chat. And then we will hear from board members and the public regarding the 200-bed single female shelter being created at 1 Kenilworth Place. And then the second reminder, excuse me, is that we formed the Community Board 14 Flatbush African Burial Ground Task Force. I don't have a lot of board participation as of yet. So if you're interested, please shoot an email to the board office that you'd like to participate. We have about equal public, excuse me, equal public and board member ratio right now, which is nice. So I'd like to see the number of the committee just grow a little bit more. I'm sorry, of the task force just grow a little bit more. And if you're considering, board members, if you're considering or interested in chairing that task force, also please reach out. And that's it for me before I fall down and die choking here somehow. Sean, do you have anything? Sean, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, other than if board members don't step up, we'll come after you.
Wait a second, Joanne, you're not allowed to die before we adjourn the meeting. Otherwise,
And we know where you live.
I don't want to get in trouble, so I am hanging on by dear life.
Drink some water.
I will. I have some.
I have a quick community update just because it came to me via text, and I know that it's an incident that so many of us were concerned and alarmed by. But they've made an arrest in the assault on the store owner, the Avenue H deli. So I don't have any details because it was just a text, but they have executed an arrest this evening.
That's great.
2 things, if I can say. One is that we are on the board as community leaders, and it's incumbent upon all of us to bring back to our communities what goes on in our community board meetings. I know I certainly do that with my emails that I send out to a few thousand people and are looked upon. I think that communication is necessary in order to build the community board and build our community. That's what we're here for, and I want to remind everybody, I think that's a crucial part of our membership.
Thank you for that, Joe. And I believe Dwayne Joseph also had chimed in about that a few meetings ago. And thank you, Anya, for the update about what's going, I'm sorry, thank you, Sean, what's going on, for updating us about the arrest on the assault on the small grocer owner. All right, everyone, without any further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
Second, third,
All right.
Fourth, fifth.
10th.
All set.
Everybody, happy Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Oh, thank
We'll
you.
see you
Thank
one
you.
day.
We'll
We have
spend it together.
right?
This comes back to the attendance thing. We're gonna see each
Just
other
don't
on
close
Monday.
any bars before I can get to them, huh?
This meeting is adjourned at 7:42. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Feel better.
Good night. Take
Night,
care.
everyone. Night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Carl.
Has left the meeting.